14 days, you got to.
I did too. It is now 6 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. That means we must officially begin the festivities. The CROA Board of Directors monthly get together, called a meeting where we're going to actually vote on stuff. Let's see. I need to make sure that you notified people that we were having this meeting, right?
It was properly noticed, yes.
Good job. And we definitely have a quorum. And then let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Owner comment time. We have a person signed up to speak. That is Sandy.
Minor, I'm Sandy,
Go ahead, Sandy.
from 959 Sterling. Minor thing, I know you've been hearing, I'm suspect you've been hearing about the electric bikes, et cetera, and they are a problem. I wish we had some rules of where they're allowed to ride and how. But the minor thing, I think maybe we could take care of, they didn't used to allow bikes in when the food trucks were there. And that's a crowded place and it gets really dangerous. Came that close to being slowed down. So if we can at least ban them from there, that was easily done. And I don't think they used to be allowed. So I'm not sure why they are, but bikes.
Well, that's certainly in our purview. That one's in our purview.
Okay.
The ones on the streets are not, and the sidewalks.
I'm going to have rules where they belong and how to apply them, but I'm asking just at the moment, just for the food truck Fridays. And then maybe other events that happen there. It's too congested to have.
So we just, we have a meeting with Peggy next.
Yes, we do. And I know PDD is aware of it too. And then it's been a conversation for the last year, but we can bring it up again.
But we can ban them from Lakeside for,
Yes. Would you like a recommendation from the rec committee or do you
I think that would be a great idea.
kick it to rec committee?
Yeah, I mean, I think for something as crowded as Food Truck Friday,
Would you just tie it to events?
Yeah, just say large events in general.
yeah, large events in general, just the bikes have to be parked.
We
Can't be, right?
typically do try to enforce that during most of the events that are on check-in. Food Truck Fridays, we don't because it's an open flow event, but it's an easily accommodatable.
Okay. See how easy that was. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion. Second.
I'd actually like to propose a change because this just goes to what I believe was our original intent when this board started about a year ago. And that was that we were going to hold off on any new jobs until we got the old work done. We got the playground done, we're getting the parks done, we've got a plan for a lot of things. But we still have some work to do on another playground or two. And we also have the biggest job of all, and that is what we're going to do with 851, which we're discussing on the colleague thing. So I would like to propose removing F from the agenda, that we table any new RFPs or projects for new work until we figure out what the 851 story and cost are going to be.
In advocacy for the master plan committee, they're just looking to get pricing to be able to tell us what this is going to cost. So this isn't to do this work. It's to figure out when we do this work, what will this act, what is the scope of what we're looking to do?
Okay, that makes sense. And my only problem with that is that if we issue the RFP now and then we don't get to it until late next year to start the process, those bids are going to be worthless.
Sure, but we don't even know what this costs. So we don't know, is this a this year project or do we have to wait 3 years to do this?
Do we need to do it? Is the best way to do that, and I don't know the answer, is the best way to do that an RFP or to just go out for estimates?
So the impact committee discusses it at their last meeting. They want to issue an RFP to get construction drawings. So then you can go out to bid for the actual price of building. So
Okay, so it's merely an RFP for construction
it's
drawings.
it's a design RFP, and then you would do a build RFP post that.
And there's no cost to us of it.
And I think,
Well, the construction company. There'll be design construction drawing costs on.
The
Yeah,
RFP.
no, issuing the RFP doesn't cost you anything. If you decide to engage the firm to get you to construction drawings, that's where you're incurring price.
Yeah.
And I think the wording of this motion needs to be changed too.
Yeah, motion to approve creating an RFP. We're not issuing an RFP. We don't have an RFP to issue. We need to create the RFP or generate the RFP for a firm.
Again, I don't have a problem getting estimates. I just don't want to put this where it appears that it's on a fast track to.
No,
Morgan's.
I don't think that's, the intent is to figure out what does this cost so that we figure out when it falls financially.
Okay, then I'll withdraw that.
The other one I had was to table action item, a legal service RFP for the workshop, because I think it needs more discussion and not.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody opposed to that?
You want to
So F, we're just changing the
motion?
language.
F, we're going to change the language, and A, we're going to table that just for more discussion.
Oh, yeah, and rewording F too.
Any other changes?
You want to reword F now?
No, we'll do it when we get to.
We can do it when we get to it. All those in favor of adopting the amended agenda? Aye, opposed? Motion to approve the minutes from both the board meeting of last year and the board workshop.
Second for both.
Second, all right, any discussion of those, any changes? All those in favor of adoption? Aye, opposed? Financials. It's financial reporting time.
Jennifer's on them.
Jennifer?
Hi, good evening, everybody. So as you know, the financials that we've put in the board packet are preliminary. They are still in progress of going through and verifying everything, making sure everything is classed correctly. We're getting very close. So you're looking at some pretty decent numbers, but there will be a few changes in there. So the income that you're looking at is good. So for the year, our income is up by quite a bit. And that would be mostly because of covenant fees, resales, community admin sales, annual sponsors, Celebrationopoly, those sorts of things. So those have been verified and those look pretty good. The December specific expenses that we've had was some HVAC repairs. There was some hurricane cleanup that was done, and also some taxes were paid. So those were the big drivers for December itself. The year-to-date surplus or deficit, I should say, is about 98,000 as of the published or the preliminary published ones that you're looking at now. I do believe it's going to go down a little bit. I don't think it's going to go down a lot, but we are still working through that. Your fund balances are also technically preliminary as I'm verifying different expenses and things. But as of right now, your operating is at 1.5 million. Your replacement is at 1.2 and capital is at 4.2. Does anybody have any specific questions regarding these?
I'm Mulcher.
A good investment, whatever it was.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Listen, just move on.
Okay, so Jennifer, just blame Eric. Put a little note in the financials, Eric's fault.
Next time we'll use one.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Any other questions for?
A couple comments, just that they are preliminary, so I don't want to do too much here and save it for the annual meeting. But two things to highlight. We were over 314,000 over budget for landscaping, pool and repair maintenance. I know we wanted to fix a lot of the existing amenities and things that are out there, so that was something that we pushed forward and did work there, so that was over. And then I wanted to highlight the special events and Parks and Rec department committees and volunteers for keeping their expenses well below budget for 2024. I thought the events were great in 2024 and they were able to do it 84,000 under budget. So a huge thank you to everyone, whether it's grant matters, committees, volunteers, everything for putting on great events for the community and keeping it well under budget. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to committee and partner updates.
I'll go quick with Dog Park. There's a community forum on February 11th to come and discuss issues and concerns with the dog park. So that's open to the public at Heritage Hall. And the master plan committee is moving forward with the plan that was developed last year. And one of the next things on the splash pad, which we will be seeing at the workshop,
Should be.
should be seen at the workshop. The progress on that, and then developing some financial numbers for the multipurpose courts, just so that they know what's ready for the next phase.
For special events, I have a special guest. So Debbie Jackson is going to give us a really great update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a member of the Special Events Committee, and I'm here this evening to highlight some really good news. I'd like to start by saying Celebration and Lifestyle Special Events Team was honored with 2 awards in 2024. The Celebration Community Services 2024 Puffs and Pints was named the winner of the Gold Stevie Award in Art, Entertainment, and Public-Private Events category in the 22nd Annual American Business Award. The Celebration Team and Lifestyle Department, along with the Special Events Committee, played a major part in planning and the execution of the event. Over 3,700 nominations from organizations in virtually every industry submitted an application for consideration in a wide range of categories, and more than 300 professionals worldwide participated in judging. Pups and Pints began 19 years ago as Posh Pooch and has evolved over the years with an estimated average of 2,000 community and county-wide residents enjoying this event, including this past Saturday. The following from the judges were some comments. The fact that this event has continued for nearly 20 years says a lot about how well it is organized and how well it is attended, and also how they tie in adoptions from local pet shelters. Pups and Pints demonstrates a long-standing commitment to celebrating dogs and their owners, fostering a sense of community and supporting local businesses. The second award was the 2024 Florida Festival Events Award, otherwise known as FFEA. It's the Sensational Awards, not sensational, sensational awards. Many communities throughout the state participate in 10 categories. The Lifestyle Special Events Committee received 3rd place award for the 2024 Father and Daughter Dance Photo Op. Sandy, you helped with that. And for the Independence Day Spectacular Video, promotional video. But now, let's look at what's coming up. As I mentioned, last Saturday was a great cool day for the pups and their owners at the Pups and Pints event at Lakeside Park. Our next big event on Friday, February 21st from 6 to 9 p.m. is the traditional annual father-daughter dance. This year's theme is Never Grow Up. With lights strung overhead, daughters will dance the night away with their fathers to tunes from the Taylor Swift tribute band. Lots of fun, food, and activities are planned for this wonderful traditional event. Tickets are on sale now, $45 per couple. We really don't have a limit like we used to. If you remember when we used to have it over at the gym, there was always like a cutoff, so please purchase your tickets. As an added event on Thursday, the day before, February 20th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., we have another event under the lights at Lakeside. Since the lights are coming a day early, we thought, why not use them? So we're having an adult-only event. It's a concert on the lawn titled An Evening Under the Stars. Bring your favorite someone. You will enjoy dancing to a live band, food and refreshments by Reggiano's, and this is a CROA ID event only. The egg hunt, we know everyone loves, is scheduled for April 19th. And shortly after that, the Fun Family Luau with a new performance group of music and fire dancers is scheduled for May 2nd. More events and more information to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. It's good news.
And all under budget.
I'll do a couple of quick updates. Finance Committee, we'll talk more when we get to the reserves, but there was consensus from that committee that all town hall expenses should fall under capital, not reserve. And that's just to preserve appropriate replacement budget in reserve over the life. So we can talk more at that point. And then regions, which we can touch base later. That's just about getting better rates on our account or whether we even need it. And then an additional card.
Didn't we already get the better rate?
things change. We did, but
And they lowered it?
Truist lowered, yes.
Oh, that's right, we went to Truist.
So that's finance. And then tech committee, they're still working through Gallagher and looking to expand the user net of it to do some more stress tests on the system. So thinking that it's either open to existing committee members or potentially reaching out for potential volunteers. So something to look at. But yeah.
Anybody else?
There's two things, I think, from ARC, so we'll get to from that for design guideline pieces. The only thing that I wanted to call out is that there are currently only 27 pending ARC applications in the system. So we're just a huge testament to the team.
It started 300?
So it was over 400
Wow.
when I kicked on. But we are using smart webs now. The team's completely in that. I don't think we have many left that are still in the old system. So pretty much everything is in there. And it's key to know too that people can submit their applications directly through smart webs as well. So they don't have to walk an application or email it if they don't want to. They can submit it right through their smart web credentials online.
How do they do?
So you should have gotten an email already.
Every resident?
Every single resident,
Yeah, my wife.
gets it, that asks you to set up your smart webs account. If you don't do that, then you just go to smart webs anyway, and there's a way to look up your account without even having to talk with anyone.
Cool.
And then it goes there.
Is there an FAQ on our website?
For smart webs, I don't think so.
Comms committee to look at those.
Communications committee. But it's been working quite well.
Anything else?
I guess that dovetails into line with the comms committee. I haven't been to a comms committee meeting because they're on autopilot doing bigger, engaged as needed, but right now they're all kind of just doing what they need to do, and as needed. Covenants, Gary, is there anything? This is quiet.
Okay.
Covenants is quiet, rec is quiet. County, we've been meeting with Peggy on the 6th. We'll talk about a few things and try to continue to build that relationship. We had a meeting with Perry last week. Schools, just continuing to identify partnership opportunities and work with her and the county. Anatomy, we do need to get some time on the calendar with them.
Yes.
A few months we checked in with them. And then service areas we'll be talking about tonight. As nausea topic. That's okay.
You're gonna get sick talking about service area?
One last thing, I forgot a while ago, there was a condo council meeting, since we last met, so that group did get together to talk. The hot button issues mainly surrounded around video doorbell guidelines, as well as inspections, and what we do for resale inspection. So that's continuing to ongo with the condo council, but they did come together.
Yeah, I didn't go to CDD. Don't see anybody from CDD. So let's move to foundation.
Don, happy 2025, everyone. My name is Kathleen Scipio. I'm the Executive Director at the Celebration Foundation. I am excited to tell you that we have a concert this Saturday that is sold out. I come here every month and I tell you, so this doesn't happen. We have a waiting list actually for British Invasion this Saturday night. Pre-pandemic, our concert series was going strong, but it was extremely rare that we sold out more than our feature top artists that season. And this year we're 2 for 2. We got 5, so we're going to keep going. So thank you for everyone for supporting the concert series. What it says to me is that music matters and people want to gather and be connected together. We also have, not us, but the Town of Celebration Half and Full Marathon is happening this Sunday. We have volunteer links if you'd like to volunteer with the Celebration Foundation, but they also are seeking volunteers just to cheer on the side of the road. They're going to have almost 2,000 people running through our community, so I encourage you to run, walk, or volunteer with the Celebration Marathon this weekend. Our scholarship applications close through the Education Foundation on January 31st. So if you know a high school senior and they haven't applied yet, please encourage them to do so. And then we are gearing up for Celebration Lifelong. Our spring and summer 2025 catalog has been released. Registration and open house is next Wednesday at Island Village from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You're going to have help with registration, meet some instructors, and of course, see the beautiful facility with some light refreshments. We have 28 courses and 20 of them are new. So if you've been a part of Celebration Lifelong before and said, been there, done that, seen that, come on down because we have 20 new ones. And then start gathering your boxes for that thing called that shredding event. We are scheduled for Saturday, April 26th, and we will open registration for that as well. We're also asking you to save the date because we're off to the races for our signature gala, the Kentucky Derby on May 3rd. More details to sign. And thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's see. How about we go to the consent agenda? How about a motion to approve the whole darn thing? Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Gets us to the action items. We're going to start with B, which is the motion to approve the purchase of water fountains.
Second.
Second.
I took the motion, Jared second.
Right.
This is to replace 3 water fountains at our Lakeside facility and our Spring Park facility that are just at their end of life. This will be coming out of reserves. We do have water fountains up for replacement this year with funds available for that. This falls within the allocated funding.
And they're from Websteront?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's the implementation time frame? Because this was the one that Kelly sent to us, right?
Mhm.
Lakeside. How long is it going to take to get these?
One is already on order, so we should be receiving it soon. So we're looking at making this instead of being an operational expense, to a reserve expense, since it is an item in the reserves.
Does it coincide with any bathroom?
Nope.
Motion to approve. We had the motion. I mean, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. C, a motion to approve the amendment for the resolution of the design guidelines.
Motion.
Second? Okay, Jones. And
Continue to have to update this resolution every time we approve a new streamlined approval design guideline.
okay, any questions? Anybody have anything on this?
What's that we done so far? Just because this is good. But how many are we up to?
There's
8.
yeah, well, it depends because we're kind of combined. Yeah, it's like 4 or 5. So. But sorry, it's not 7. So.
Anybody have anything else on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion to approve design guidelines for common area, home available, and the home business district signage. Motion.
Motion.
Charles seconds. Carried. Motion. Questions?
Just as the same as the last one, this is recommended by ours.
So the question on this is, what signs do we allow in common areas?
Oh, our signage.
Just ours?
Yeah, the communities, the HOA signs.
We have to comply with the signage.
Keep off the signs.
So what is this updating? Just that you can approve your own.
There's been a change to the guidelines.
It's been a change to the guidelines on what they will allow. It's a little bit more specific. It also applies to the home business district signage for any of the signs that they put on, either the hanging signs that they have or the ones that they place out in their yard.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to approve the Collick Group scope of work expansion change order, which is in your packet, to the tune of $19,780. This was what we discussed at the last.
Motion for discussion.
Motion for discussion.
I'll second.
Second, Eric. Discussion.
So is it the consensus of the board that we are interested in expanding this? Because if we're not interested in expanding 851, we don't need to spend $20,000 to learn if we need to do that or not.
I think that was the intent. That it was see what it would cost to do that.
So,
So
yeah,
I guess this vote would be, do we want to even think about it? Do we want to spend $20,000 to look at the possibilities?
Yeah.
And I don't know, what we're approving, would that give us the actual price of the expansion, or is it just the feasibility? Whether not,
It'd be feasibility and what the ramifications would be, like on parking, things like that. It's same with the other construction drawings. You're still not going to know exactly what it's going to cost.
so we have to.
Yeah, the estimate is specifically not included.
Yeah.
So just
So-
the feasibility. My thought is, yeah, I kind of agree. I know this is kind of a difficult question, but like to see kind of like where all the other board members are thinking as far as like the additional space, like what would it necessarily be used for? I know in the master plan, strategic plan for amenities, they do have options for additional space in town, and they have justification for all of that, all of those recommendations. So I'm wondering, like, so if we look a step forward and say, okay, this feasibility study is going to come back, and they're probably going to say, yeah, you can add on, some more space. At that point, we have to decide, okay, then are we going to go that route? And in my mind, I mean, technically, I feel comfortable with what master plan, strategic plan put in place for space. And if we were to go that route, like what is the justification for this the added cost for that space? Because if this project is like X amount, adding on space will be more. And, would that then mean maybe like a special assessment to cover that cost? Like there are some additional things. So like, if everyone could kind of say like what their thoughts are, and like if everyone's like, yes, let's add on space to 851, then sure, we go forward with this. But if everyone else is kind of thinking the same thing, maybe we don't spend the 20,000 and we allocate that 20,000 towards the project. I don't know. That's a.
Let me devil's advocate this for a second. I think the thinking is, and I'm not saying I'm favoring this, but I think the thinking was if since we're probably going to fix 851. I mean, the reality is there are all these dreams about a new building, but the reality is we're probably going to fix 851. If we're already going to put it out to bid to fix, would it be feasible to say as part of that, maybe we add a little extra money in to increase the space in the building? However, and that's what this is for, because the biggest problem we have is parking.
To me,
And it comes down to two. We're not going to get another chance to do this, hopefully, for another 20, 30 years or so.
Hopefully I'll be dead by.
well, I don't know if that's true, though. I think we can always add on. We can always add on to 851 at any point that we need to do that. We don't have to do that now. I just think $20,000 and a 2-month delay, because this is a minimum 2-month delay on 851, and $20,000, I'd rather just.
I would just kind of see what everyone was thinking.
We're still moving at full
Millions of dollars.
pace.
It's going to be incremental cost and savings by doing it at the same time. And I would maintain, I don't think we're going to be looking based on the master plan vision. I don't think we're going to be coming back to this and adding on.
I would add, this does run options to know what's there with the space. And who knows, maybe something comes back that master plan or someone else says, yeah, this would work for this programming reason or something. And
So
another thought would be,
Let's hear what Jacob has.
a couple of pieces, the stakeholders from the master plan committee that are involved on this project do kind of echo what Katie was stating. They do ideally want to keep this more of a civic building, and they're not seeing the need for an expansion except for short-term needs until additional facilities are built in town. That's the only reason they could see that. We are running at full pace ahead on the approved addition of scope with COLIC. That was approved in the last board meeting in December. This project would run in parallel to that. If we did choose to implement any of these options, it would then, then it would affect the current project that is running with COLIC.
using your words for speaking on behalf of master planning there, but if there's no need for any more civic build, why did they submit anything at Lakeside and why did they submit anything at Heritage Hall?
Yeah, why is this here? If this was, That's what I'm.
Oh,
understanding.
this
That's not-
was-
No.
Yes, thank you. These were the requests from the board in the last meeting to look at some options.
Right.
We listed those options out to Click. They shared they would happily look into, but they're not inside the current scope. So that's why I
Then-
didn't outline
Then
it.
let me just, here's my thinking. It's, money is not unlimited. We have very finite resources, and I think they're going to be a lot more finite going forward than we hope. But nobody knows. Finance committee doesn't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. We can project all we want, but we're not going to be right. I want the building fixed. I want the building fixed. I would say this $20,000 could go towards something in the new building.
I will modify my motion to not approve the collect change order. Not proceed, not.
Or you could just keep it as is and then we'll vote.
I'll put a motion to approve the Cali order of 1970.
Okay. We already have,
Yeah, it's already.
we already have that motion, so that motion exists. So all those in favor of this,
Aye.
opposed? No.
I'm in favor.
Wait,
You're in favor?
So maybe we're not in favor.
Four, okay.
Yep.
2-4. Moving on to motion to approve RFP.
Is that all clear? Is that what?
Yeah, how you
Yeah,
gonna rewrite
I
that?
fixed-
Okay.
Okay, we fixed the language. What's the new language?
It's motion to approve creating RFP for a firm to complete construction drawings for multifunction courts as part of phase 1 of the Master Plan Advisory Group report as recommended by the Master Plan Advisory Committee.
Nice.
And I motioned for that
Yes.
Yeah.
and voted no for that?
No, you
No.
motioned for that. You have a motion for that,
You
yes.
motioned for Click and.
You motioned for
no.
Click and voted no.
But you motioned for
Okay.
discussion.
Okay,
That's over.
motion for discussion, okay.
Is there a motion for discussion? My understanding is we have to.
It's
make
just a motion.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
have to make a motion to approve or to under.
Yeah.
The motion for discussion.
Right, that's why I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, no, he made a motion to approve and it was seconded. 'Cause when you call it a motion for discussion, it means I.
You're approving it.
There's no such thing as a discussion.
Right. But then there's discussion.
Right.
It's just,
Technically, it's the way you go by the book, it's by what's written on the agenda.
yes. So does anyone want to make a motion for that number F? It's rewritten.
Motion,
Can we state the?
And I'll second.
we just.
She just
Yeah, I
restated it. It was for creating
Okay.
RFP.
So all we're doing is changing the word issuing to create.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And this is just for construction drawings. I want to make sure that's very clear. And it's only for the Master Plan Advisory Group report.
For the multipurpose courts.
But for the report, it's for the purposes of them creating the report.
The study, yes, yeah.
Part of the second. Okay, just want to make that clear on my behalf. I just
And this comes to the board from the impact.
from MPAC. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Fee waivers? All those in favor?
Motion to approve.
Oh, motion to approve. Well, we have to again.
Second,
Second. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve payment plan.
I want us to be clear that we are approving what Arias Bosinger's recommendations are, because there's conflicting information
Oh, there is?
on some of the things. As long as we're motioning to approve what the attorney is recommending.
We have recommendations. That's usually what we do. Yeah.
Yes, the second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Non-compliance list. Motion to approve, second. All those in favor? Aye. Now to discussion items. Management update.
Yes, I will say there's been we had a very good amount of work completed in our different departments in this past month. I recommend those in the community to review the management executive summary inside of the packet that is online for more information regarding the administration and some different areas. Some specific items to highlight where we consistently are seeing over 1,000 residents assisted in person at our resident services location at the Jones Room, and which is a great number, as well as a large amount of email responses and on the phone. An item to bring up to the community and the board that is not highlighted inside of that report, though, is we are starting to see some acts of vandalism at some of our parks that are impacting some projects. specifically our Lakeside Park, Long Meadow Park, and Spring Park. What we're seeing at Spring Park and Lakeside, this is more we're seeing, this is small acts of vandalism, nothing too malicious, carving initials or names into wood and tables. We have been really working on our preventative maintenance and proactive remedy up to these solutions, potentially faster than in the past. So we are starting to see, since we're being vigilant of these, we're noticing them more and we're acting on them. So that might be why we're starting to see an uptick in this. In Long Meadow, it's just the use of the field and after hours when the park is closed. But one thing that has been impacting a project that is important to the community is our bench project at the Spring Park Playground. We are doing some bench installation. We have 2 currently there with 6 more planning to be installed. They're just waiting on the concrete pads to be finished. We're doing those concrete pads in-house. They have seen some delays due to the rain and the low temperatures affecting pouring of concrete, but this area in particular, we've had 3 different instances from human interactions that have required the work to be redone. Now one of these 2 slabs or 3 slabs that is poured is going to have to be broken and completely repoured, as it has already received 2 repairs from different acts of balls being thrown at it, breaking the barriers, children stepping on the wet concrete, even though it's been taped off, initials overnight going in. We've been taking acts of having park monitors on that while the concrete is wet when we can. Some of these issues can be mitigated from that and some unfortunately cannot. We are still working through this, and we've been accolading our on-site maintenance team for their patience as they continue to work through this.
I'll say I've noticed I know we increased security at different parks, and I've personally seen that increase. So thank you for that. That's been good.
Thank you. Yes, we have addressed with our security company hitting more parks and having eyes on those that we've seen these increases. This has not been an increase in costs, as they're able to do it inside their currently contracted shifts. But we're just covering more grounds. Some projects and permit some project and permit updates, starting with shade structures. Our Island Village playground shade structure is pending. Still, 360 has submitted the plans with the wind load change, and the city has the approval due date as today. We had been checking it multiple times and we just have not received the response or not received any updates on that currently. The East Village shade permit is approved and stated that it is in production. We do not have an ETA and shipment until it is out of production. Our bathroom renovation projects at Spring Park and Lakeside Park, those permits were submitted by our contractor on January 6th, 2025. The Spring Park permit is still in early processing and the Lakeside is pending more information. We have been in contact with Darbo, the vendor handling this, and they plan to get the information needed to the permits office by the end of this week. Some updates on our pool heaters. So we currently have only 2 pools that are equipped with pool heaters, Lakeside and Spring Park. The Lakeside compressor is, we've been in constant contact with the delivery of this compressor. That is the only thing we're waiting on for it. And it is scheduled to be installed on Monday, January 27th. So we should start to see warmer waters and days following. The Spring Park new pool.
Sorry, Jacob, just on the side. So that means that the electrical panel has been repaired?
The electrical panel has been repaired.
And it's good.
We are in belief that we shouldn't see any issues.
Put that load on it?
Yes. That we shouldn't see any issues. And at this point, we will only be able to know once we have once we have the in and we're able to operate it in full capacity. But action has been taken to make sure we're in the best spot we can be at this point on the electrical for that. There is that, that potential that it does cause an issue, but we are working to make that not happen. For the Spring Park new pool heaters, we have been in communication with the vendor, thanks to Christian and his team. We're still on track for the install on these on the 3rd or 4th week of February. That's what what we communicated early, and we still believe that is fair, even with the shipment delays we've been seeing with other items. This one, because of our communication, we still think we're set for these dates. Working with our vendor that's doing the resurfacing, I know we had a request, and what we're able to do is we can delay the lakeside closure for 1 week from its current closure date of Friday, January 31st to February 7th. So that's delaying the switchover of closing Lakeside and opening Spring Park by 1 week without incurring any impact with our vendor. We did make the inquiry with Deja Blue Pools about doing a full delay until the Spring Park pool heaters are installed, and we can so that way we have a lap lane that is open. That we would incur about a $5,000 fee for that, as it does affect other projects outside of our project, and then we would still have to do some addendums inside the contracted dates on that. That is the updates for the pool heaters. Some updates on our playgrounds. Our playground equipment replacement for North Village. We're going to discuss this further in our reserve projects items. The reason why we want to discuss this later on is in 2026, a year from now, we have about $352,000 up to work on that small park. Right now, we do know we have a teeter-totter that is out and needs to be replaced with a similar style rocker or something else. But the main item that is in need at the small park in North Village is the turf is past its useful life. So we'll discuss this later on do we want to replace the teeter-totter and the turf and not move forward with a full park, a full equipment replacement in 1 year, or do we look at that and that then will adjust the other options as the underlaying needs some adjustments before we put a teeter-totter back in there, most likely. The playground equipment at East Village, right now it's missing a rocker. This is in transit and looking to come. The cost was quite low on this, around $3,000, plus we will be working on to get it installed with Diane's Cornell's team once we get that here. We intended, even a few months ago as well, that we would do this install after the shade structure was installed. That way we know we don't incur any issues with this because it's slightly off from where the shade structure is covering the main playground area. We just did not intend that the shade structure project would see such delays. Let's see here. And then
Jacob, is to have we're just moving ahead with the rocker anyway, no matter what, and then we'll tackle the shade structure. Village.
Since we know that the shade structure in East Village is in production, and right now our rocker is in transit, it would be management's recommendation that we do not do the install on that rocker until we have the install on the shade structure in, since now we're looking at still very close in dates. There is the option we can move forward once we get it on site. We can schedule the install with Diane's team and get that rocker back in, so that way it has all of its equipment. I just don't like the idea of having any complications in installing the shade structure, or that now the shade structure pylons are close to the fall zone of the rocker, in which we have to then relocate the rocker. That's why we're looking at just waiting until we can get that shade structure in.
No, I know that's a contentious point with some people in the community, so I want to make sure that we're okay with it. I'm okay with it. I think it makes sense to wait unless we come back and it's going to be another 4 months for the shade structure, and then I think we need to revisit it.
I was just gonna ask at the end, when you get the ETA for the shade.
We should have.
We just put it in the management report.
Yes, yeah, we should have that once we are alerted that it's out of production, it goes into shipment. And so then that should help us a whole lot.
Yeah, once you find out.
Don't we already have drawings of where the market's going, where the posts are going for the
The
shade
rocker
structure?
is going right where it was, where it's broken was. times. Yeah, it shouldn't see, we don't expect any.
For permitting that shows exactly where it is. So regardless, I mean, I'm fine with it going in after the fact, but it really shouldn't have any impact regardless.
It shouldn't, it really shouldn't, but just since we have the opportunity to be precautionary, the recommendation is to act with that.
So I think also you've seen with Diane's inspections of the playgrounds, you've seen updated safety standards from the older playgrounds. So that was the other abundance of caution of wanting to pause on the installation. And Diane can likely get in there and do that install around the same time, if not the same time as the installation of the shade structure. Because we just talked to her about the Long Meadow Playground project as well. And she was recommending that she and the other playground vendor work at this almost at the same time after she's done with demo. So we're shortening timeframes.
Do we have a start date for Long Meadow?
We are waiting shipment of the pod climbers. That's the biggest lead time. So as soon as we have shipment for those, then we'll have a better idea of start date. We're still anticipating a mid-March start for demolition. But as soon as we have that shipment date, we'll know. But all three vendors were on the call with us earlier this week.
Meeting this week.
Yeah, and they're all ready to go. They're all prepared. The turf will be ordered as soon as we have a shipment date. Actually, it will be ordered before that. We're cutting them the check. And they just need a 2-week lead time to get their team scheduled and ready to go. So everybody's on the same page with that project.
Who built East, is that's perfect, right?
East Village is a perfect program.
Is that top line you put that in? Is that North Village? Who put in East, because that was what, 2020 we put that in?
2018 for East Village, I think. Yeah.
East, was it?
I think.
It was pre-COVID. It wouldn't have been during COVID.
I swear we did something. Maybe it was the turf. The turf is what we did.
The turf was redone in 2020, early
Tree.
2022.
That-
because of the
okay,
tree.
The tree,
Yes,
Yeah.
the tree.
the tree.
And that's not under, none of that's under.
The tree's not under.
Not the tree.
You did have turf repair at East Village that was under warranty. That seam that opened up, that's,
That's the,
yes.
What else we have there?
While on the subject of turf, when we were in review of turf vendors for that project and for potential and for just getting quotes on North Village turf as well, we were asking those vendors about any type of sustainability or preventative maintenance for the turf, if they have any plans. A couple of them did, but they only will work on the turf if it is theirs. The vendor that we're working with for Long Meadow, thank you, does a turf refurbishment. This involves different kind of fluffing the turf by going against the grain, adding granule where needed. We have scheduled to have that turf refurbishment done at one of our playgrounds, our Spring Park playground, as that turf, as we all know, this playground is receiving very heavy use, and the turf is already showing impact of that heavy use. So we started this here. That will be scheduled out in probably the next month or two as well, so we can see the result on that, and if we want to continue that on any of the other parks as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. We've been looking at trying to do something refurbishing turf, and as more of our parks do it. I know everyone's like, we install the turf and then we're done with it, but I'm glad that we're looking at doing it.
They all say it does help prolong the life.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
I know it sounds silly, but it makes it look a lot nicer.
Yeah.
It does,
I
yeah.
mean, even if it doesn't last longer, it looks a lot nicer.
This one, we pay by the size of the turf project on this one. And so if we do like the results of this one, we plan to do on the North Village large kid playground, as that turf is in good condition, but it does need a refurb. And then as well as potentially at Spring Lake and East Village.
Do you have anything else? Because I have a question on the pools.
Go
on the
ahead.
Heater.
Mhm.
Well, I don't remember. What was the cost of the heater, the new heater for Spring Park?
30s.
30s?
Does that sound about right? 30,000?
The reason I bring that up
40.
is
40,000. Thank you, Christian.
the fact that, how much?
40,000.
40,000. That I think maybe we should really be talking more about this pool issue and the fact that, is that $5,000 too much to give us a heated pool nonstop during this cold weather. And then to add to that, not for this immediate, but for consideration, I think we really should start to think about heating Island so that we have another heated pool in this community. If it's at a, you know, a $40,000 or $50,000 price point, we really should consider that again, as opposed to new water facilities, make the existing ones much more functional and much more useful.
I'd like to discuss both these points if we can stick to the first one, because that one I do.
Yeah, that's right away. The 5,000 is right away.
From the board, do we want to look at that? That was a few weeks ago. I think that number shouldn't be changing. As 2 or so weeks have passed, I don't think that would impact.
So what will that do? That will make sure that when the resurfacing moves, it moves later and this is now up and running and heated. So it can be used by the community, because as it stands right now, we have no heated pools, and that will give us basically another month without another heated pool.
So the unfortunate situation that we're looking at is we're about to get heat on a lakeside pool.
But we're going to reserve.
Starting on Monday. And then the closure was actually, we've been able to do some movement on that because of the issues with the deck work and the weather affecting this deck work out here. This is the only pool that has major deck work that we're doing included in the resurfacing project. But yeah, optically, we are getting a pool that has heat online.
For like 2 days.
And then we're going to take it right offline and open one that doesn't have heat.
So it would make sense. I feel like the amount of people that use the pool to spend the 5,000
That's what I'm thinking, is we're talking, $1,000,
for heat.
$1,200 a week to have a heated pool that just because of a series of unfortunate events, we don't. And again, that's why I think later on, the board should really consider adding heat to it.
Has the heaters and all the other pools on their phase
Do
one
they?
agenda. So
Phase
they're-
one?
Yep. there
Good.
was-
Is the new amenity center gonna have a pool too? I don't.
Yes, it will.
And
We
is that-
asked,
Is that on Madamy's radar as a thing?
We've
Potentially?
in
we
our,
requested it, but we requested it phase one as well, and they did not.
Let's get them pulled up, not-
Yeah.
yeah.
But
We know-
what do you guys think about the 5,000? We need just a consent. If we have a consensus, then
Yeah.
we can go ahead with
I
that.
think it's nice they're offering it.
We
Yeah.
did come in much below the number that was allocated in the reserve. That being said, we did overspend in other areas in the reserve last year. On that, there's the motion, do we take this, or it's roughly 5,000, it was a bit less. Do we take this amount and do we put this in as a operating expense, or do we tie this to the project and make a change order to add it as a reserve expenditure?
Should be tied to the project.
You should have tied to the project? Okay. Then tie it to the project. I think is there a no?
So.
What's the
There's
what's the
not-
amount? Is this under $5,000? I mean,
It was like five,
But it's reserve.
But it's
Well,
going to
it's-
come out of reserve.
well, is it? But he just said operating.
You can tie it to the project or you can pull it from operating. It's really the board's choice. Either way,
the number from Dacia Blue Pools was in around like 4,700 to 4,900 a couple of weeks ago. She said, that was pivotal on some future projects. So I don't know if that number is still locked at that number. So I'd have to double check to see if that's still the right amount. But at that point, it was about 4,900.
Do we need to vote though, or?
Not if it's under 5.
shop if you want to pull it from reserves.
Yes.
But if it's under operating, you can just.
But if it's under, yeah. why don't you
We
just-
can do it, but we prefer you vote and ratify this at your workshop.
That's fine.
because We're gonna have
Yeah,
to
but
amend the
But
contract.
the problem is, when does the switchover take place? I think it's before.
Can we
the
just
workshop.
approve the expense? And
No, it's
the
the-
workshop would say where it's coming from.
So, yeah, you can
Yeah.
approve the expense and give us the consensus direction.
Oh, you just want to,
Next time.
And I just need to put it
okay.
out there on the record.
I just
that the
don't want
contract
to
needs
make
be
that,
amended.
I don't want to have them
Right.
move over and do the lakeside pool until this heats up.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And I'm in favor of doing that. I think to Lauren's point though, because deja vu, it's not just the money part of it. It is a contract amendment because the liquidated damages clause would need to be
Exactly.
modified.
Yeah.
So we would need to know that date would change.
Okay. Well, yeah, then we can vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Okay. I think you have a consensus and an agenda item. Let's see, you done with management update?
Just one question on the, about 1,100 residents assisted in person. Do you break that down into what they're asking for? And do they have any other avenue to get an answer to what they're coming in for? Or is truly the Jones Room the only place that they can get their problem resolved?
I mean, yeah, they can call or email most of the time and get most of their answers, but some people like to come in person, or if they need to get a new ID or renew their ID, then yeah, they have to come in person.
Just curious what could be done not in person versus has to be done in person? Because that's taking time away from staff to do other things, so.
But their job is to do
Their
that.
job is.
Their front.
Everything- Yeah, everything is logged and I mean, they do, cascade or they do provide, they are acting as conduits for resources that are available online. And a lot of that information is even posted in the Jones Room or the stick room for letting them know. I mean, ARC applications is one of those perfect examples. You can do it right here, quick and easy, easier even than doing a paper application. But there's, but people like going in. It gives you that sense of place.
Good tech, tech is looked at self-service student website, like chatbots and last year they were talking about the communications.
Yeah, I mean, we're never gonna drive it down to zero, but is
No,
there something
no, I
that
agree.
will improve and free people up to do other stuff?
People like the Jones Room location because of the parking. It's downtown. If they're playing tennis or in the pool, they can pop over. We might be seeing a higher volume because if you're passing by or walking downtown, you can think about, I need a new badge and I'm here. So that might be a reason as well.
Going forward, so we have the performance metrics now implemented in the new contract. Are we going to be reporting out on those going forward? Is that going to be in starting the February board? So when will we look at January's? How,
You'll see January in the February board packet, and those metrics that are to be posted online will be posted online before the board meeting. But you're not reviewing the metrics until they're you're only reviewing them quarterly.
but just in the packet? So
Yeah.
will we discuss it in the minute that was February? I guess that's also we talked
Well,
about that.
at the discussion during the metrics discussion, the discussion was you didn't want to lose the existing management report. You wanted the additional metrics separated out.
That's right, we don't have to separate it.
Okay.
But that's why you did start to see the first implementation of that in this report with the dates changing to be from December 1st to December 31st, even though in our December meeting, it was November 18th to December 11th. So we're switching to calendar months.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jacob?
For technology, I know it came up of, is the Gallagher app for users, is there a set number that we get? And is it a one-time fee or an annual fee? Have you reviewed that contract or spoke with Dom to see what that truly is?
I can follow up on that.
Because that's the IT committees.
Just on the vandalism and the security piece, I know we had the piece here and contracted with Mayberry, we have that camera available. So I don't know if we can deploy that at.
Do they have a cellular camera?
They have one and it sits there and blinks too, which I think it's better than nothing.
They,
We don't have to pay for it. It's already included in our contract.
Mayberry, as part of our contract, will deploy wireless cameras and monitor them 24/7 in the community. The tech committee was not comfortable with them cameras in the community and did not want to give them access to our cameras. So that's why we did not deploy the Mayberry camera.
Shouldn't that come to the board though?
Yeah, I think that should come to the board. Yeah,
Because we're having issues.
yeah, we're having issues. I think I was just gonna, in fact, when we were talking, we need some, if Mayberry has them, great.
Right. If we're paying for them,
Then let's.
Already. yeah.
And we have the reason to do. so.
We can collaborate with them on
Is that, who was the ownership of the cameras? And
Well, we
they,
can go through all that, but we need to be discussing it, not hiding it at the committee.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you have your tech committee chair here.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Well, good. Yes, there was discussion at the tech committee, as Andrew laid out, about the security of the cameras, the ownership of the cameras, installing cameras, and then let's say in the future, we change from Mayberry to another security contractor. We do have one camera that the tech committee has prototyped. It was used to monitor the ballots. That could be installed somewhere, but it's going to need power. So
and it's going to be used for this next ballot.
But the Mayberry camera, that's a wireless, no power camera. It's battery solar. They work.
to be determined, I would say.
Yeah, but it belongs to them. It's part of our contract
Yes,
that they'll deploy it for us.
yes.
And that's wrong because
It needs further discussion
why?
We can go into it in closed meeting.
No, no,
We
we
had
don't.
that,
Wait, I don't like closed meeting discussion.
so the understanding was security. It's almost like passwords and things along those lines were closed session. We had that last year.
How does a security camera from a private security company that we hired
It's the same CDD with the shade meetings, like that.
in the what?
Shade meetings, that's what they say. You can't have, like, when they're talking about like security or camera placement. Because it's a security issue. We don't want people in a public meeting to see like where we're putting our cameras.
No, but I'm not talking about where we're putting our cameras, but the fact that we could have our vendor place a camera that we're already paying.
Placement, I think placement is what, and the specifications and the
This is
solution
permanent.
and all that stuff.
Why wouldn't we just let our management tell them where to place it and not tell the public?
Well, I mean, they have flashing lights on them. They're not gonna be hidden cameras that nobody's gonna see.
But I don't even think it's a problem if the public does know,
I don't either.
as
I want the public to enforce stuff.
with
Right.
the
That's where we,
And
cement.
we're not talking about people's passwords.
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but has Mayberry said what cameras they need?
No.
So we don't even know what cameras they're using to say that it would meet the threshold for Celebration to use in town.
There's a threshold?
Yes.
Yeah,
What's our threshold?
The Homeland Security Department has a listed specific type of cameras that should be used in public settings.
But that's our threshold? Did we vote on that threshold?
Can we get a report from the committee of opinions and suggestions and
Yes,
things?
that's what I was
That
going
would
to
be great.
suggest.
Yeah.
Instead of this, I was going to suggest let's have
That would be,
the other thing we talked about, this was in January, I think when we had the town hall, we were talking about connectivity with the sheriff's office and.
they won't do that. Trust me from.
No, they will, they have a center.
Yeah, they're.
But that'll dive in the vine. So
Yeah.
I do think this is a good time to talk.
I think.
If we're having a
Just
problem with
one
bandwidth.
question, yeah, I just have, I don't know if anyone can answer, but like, so the main issue in my mind right now is the cement laying, with the benches. And that is causing time and money to having to like redo. So if we could do like a temporary solution to where we could get that project completed without having to have to redo it and tear things up, would we be able to put a temporary camera on site there? At least just for that? Is that even a possibility or, and then we can discuss everything else later, but I'm just trying to think of
We
a way
can't,
we
but
can,
putting a camera doesn't mean someone's not gonna do those things.
it might deter it.
The concrete, that's the thing, like how much is it gonna cost to put it in versus someone, the concrete guys, how much?
I mean, if you're using the Mayberry one, they're free.
The Mayberry.
So-
They're in your contract and they're monitoring it. And if they see somebody, they're going to send their person on site to do that location.
If you want us to look at different cameras, then that's gonna be an expenditure.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just
To your
wondering if we could at
I
least.
just was surprised to learn that we get 3 monitored cameras
Yeah.
free
How
To
much do you
help
wanna do that?
complete.
and then we said no to that.
We did.
see, I didn't say no.
We didn't-
Mayberry has never provided us what camera they would be installing for the
Did
tech
we,
committee.
did you have them to a meeting and ask for that specifically?
I want to say there was a meeting in the summer sometime.
Were they ever asked, was Mayberry ever asked to present that information
Yeah.
to technology or the board?
I know the tech committee asked management. I don't know where I went from there.
That was probably in the flip over between Jose and.
Can we ask now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that died in that transition.
I'd like to know.
Regarding your question, so it doesn't go unanswered, when we were looking at this bench project, we were a bit over on expenditures for benches in 2024. The pad cost was going to be extremely high to do that as with a contractor. Christian was willing to teach his crew how to do it in-house. So we only incurred, in just the $100 ranges of buying concrete. And then it's just the man hours of our staff. That's really the main loss right now is man hours of our staff.
That's where I think we're gonna spend thousands of dollars, but potentially camera. And it's like, I'm not saying we want to keep doing this project over and over, but it's the rest of the balance that kind of do.
Is there,
Other thought I had, but I don't know if it would help or not. I remember when they were resurfacing the tennis courts, there was issues too, like with, people going in and having to redo it. And I believe it was written in the Monday Matters, like kind of like an update, like we're kind of like having these problems to like let residents know. And I don't know if that would help deter like parents for just like being more aware, that's wet cement. Don't like, make sure there's no toys being like thrown over the the road. I don't know if it would be helpful to put in the Monday manners or just like,
It can't
Or
hurt,
in a
because we
big
could also,
Yellow ribbon around.
That's what I'm.
yeah, but like, or just like letting people know this is wet concrete still. And like, if you,
There's a big orange fence.
You can't stop.
I saw it and I saw kind of like someone stepped in it first, you know, and it's kind of like, were they testing it out? No, I don't know.
So they're leaving their mark.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, we could do a section that's like current common issues that we're seeing, because we have e-bikes that are on the new Long Meadow sod that
Yeah.
are riding all over the place.
Yeah.
We have some other, you know, common issues with people scratching their names into the benches. So, I mean, it couldn't hurt to just say, hey, these are common issues we're seeing in the community now. Can you help us out?
When is the,
That's all.
And then get Mayberry over and we'll say, and we're gonna have a roving camera.
well, they're taking pictures even. When they go to a place, they're taking pictures each time they go and lighting up the area. It's good.
Thrown up very well.
When is the next technology committee meeting?
that'll be on the back.
It-
Will they be able to have that report by the workshop?
I'm pretty sure, Mayberry's pretty responsive. I'm pretty sure they can get us.
But I mean, the recommendations from the technology committee
I think it falls.
Oh, yeah,
under
it
workshop.
does. fall.
before the workshop. Okay.
So I think specific, just so that we're clear, so that we don't incur a delay. The issue that we want to investigate is not just the camera issue specific to the camera from Mayberry. It's to understand what is a recommendation, because we're going to see this, because we likely are going to need to do something similar at upcoming, like the playground projects and turf
Yeah.
replacements and all this stuff. It's not just isolated to this one piece. We want to understand this more for a long-term plan as well.
Okay,
Last question on the benches. The Victorian benches that are being installed aren't all necessarily anchored. And before they end up flipped over in places, is there a plan for that? Because I know they're not all on pads. Some of them are on bricks, which is like,
There is a plan. That is on the internal list of things to do, is to, yep.
Okay.
The last thing I was going to say, all of the Hollywood benches, all of the Victorian benches have arrived and been placed out on site, with the exception of the amphitheater ones that we were going to be adding, which is going to, pads again are will come later. Those ones are just not as pressing as the ones in the playground.
The only question that I did have is the lighting. So we had looked at replacing the guts and the internals of the lights.
So Christian's still working on that information.
Okay.
It should be at your workshop.
As you saw, I think we had on the preliminary agenda, we pulled it off. We wanted to just have.
Ballard alternative.
Yeah.
That's all I'm concerned.
All right, moving on to the surface area process improvement item number B, or letter B. Yes? Whose is that?
This is a continuation from our workshop on the discussion of this. But where we left off on that was that we would take it offline, allowing board members to provide comments on one through the one we posted in the Teams. We did have some comments added by Charles.
Want to bring it up?
I can pull it up.
We don't need to spend 30 minutes on it.
I'll pull out a non-commented version.
There's one main comment I want to make for consideration. So all of my comments.
This is not.
That's the comment free.
You want a comment version?
Don't you comment?
I have my, no, I was,
I
can you
can
share the comment version?
pull the comment version up.
Did you swear in the comment version?
Yeah.
Good stuff in it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why do you have to say that?
What is it? What?
Yeah.
So I think the one thing is you're bringing up. I'm a bit concerned that what you have is a major 180 from what you're currently doing. And I think this is good, but you're going to need to be able to execute this. So if there are certain things that you think you cannot execute right now, because I think we're all in agreement, I don't think we want to add headcount. We don't want to continue to add more staffing. So you're going to need to be thoughtful around that. I think as you look at some of these things like hosting meetings 48 hours, having agendas, these are all great, but there's going to be man or woman power needed for some of these things. And that's where I think that was maybe, I raised a little bit of an background on some of those. So I think just as you go through this, be mindful of that.
So I think after we get commentary at the service area town hall, I think we need to do at least a 6-month rollout amp up of this, because there's going to be, I anticipate pushback on some of these items from the committee members, suggested changes. And obviously it's going to be a new process that everybody's going to be getting used to. So I think at minimum a 6-month rollout is to be expected. And then, you know, another 3 months in terms of fine tuning. Some of these things they do already do. It's just formalized in this process. It's really more the reporting out to the committees on a more consistent basis that we're focusing on. They do the monthly landscape inspections, take pictures and send an email to the committee. They do monthly inspections of the community and send the items to community standards or to the resident if they need to do it. So those are already items they do. The biggest change is going to be the open meetings with the committee, the monthly report, and the utilization of the CROA tasks and work orders. And I noticed one of your comments in here was, why are we doing this for CROA? We are not. The service areas are a little more cookie cutter in terms of association, and CROA is just a little bit too cumbersome for the CROA broad scale in terms of all of those items. And we're using a different process tracker. Most of those are maintenance items that Christian has his process tracker.
Isn't that a problem though, because there are commonalities between what we do naturally between common areas and service areas? How are you making sure that things align? All these different project systems and trackers and things along those lines.
Service areas is using only the CRM system.
Why? So what specifically, and have you had conversations with your leadership around why we're not getting that for the common areas? That's my question. Why can't we get that functionality for the larger?
I think this big process that is already working for.
Yeah, we're
That, why are we not just duplicating that for service areas? Rather than creating a new service area that is different from CROA. Either way, right?
I mean, we can discuss that and start using it.
CROA is a really good, useful system for a standardized HOA. Our service areas operate very similarly to a standard HOA as far as just what is in their budget, services provided.
So you're saying it's basically a simpler system that works for a simpler structure.
It is.
And for CROA, we're using a more complex system for more.
And this system provides the best ease of access to live data for the residents inside those service areas that they can access on their own without putting in a request.
Is that any different than my celebration FL?
They use that.
They
too.
use that.
What I'm saying, if the normal process for CROA is my celebration FL, how is CROA any faster if when someone puts a note saying that it's closed or it's done or it's in process, that's going to be identical to CROA?
There's a lot more complexity or individual related issues that can't be put into my celebration.
So the CROA task or process is an internal tracking system for us, for them tracking it. And then it generates in a monthly report that can be provided to the committee. That monthly report.
CROA helps you with doing monthly reporting.
Yes, that monthly
Turning into
report
your action.
would not look anything like this and is not what the board.
It started with that. So the reason you use CROA is for the monthly report, so you don't have to manually generate or pull from different systems.
I worry too, like, you see, there are differences between like what we're issuing with RFPs, how we're handling, I mean, the projects. You can acknowledge the project management has not been up to par. Service areas, and it's been a little bit better with some of the common area things. So you start seeing some of these breaks in the process and you start looking at this and we have all these different systems. I think to the extent you can, to Andrew's point, either choose a system, one system, figure it out. It's just kind of all over the place.
So the piece that I would say that's also a little bit different, in my opinion, with the service areas is the service areas, there's more things that they need to log into CROA for to encourage them to go into the system. So things like they want to see their financials. We remove that stuff off of the CROA website and it's moved into CROA. Well, we get lots of requests for those, from what I understand. So it's almost encouraging them to go into the system that we want them to use too. But I think talking to the consistency piece, when I read through this, the biggest piece for me, when I see feedback from an outside perspective, not as the liaison to it, is some committees run very differently than others. And the challenge that I see over and over and over with some of the emails that we get that come in are sometimes the residents of that service area don't understand that the committee made that decision. And so then,
Yes.
And this goes to that.
this goes to that, which we're trying to solve, to say, we get you, this is where it was. But in some cases, it's like, well, there was a meeting. Well, Was it open? Was it, what was it?
Yes.
That discussion. And so it a little bit formalizes that to make it easier for the residents to understand kind of where the decision-making process was, whether or not they agree with it, different question, but at least it formalizes that a bit.
I guess my overall concern with it, I like the plan and where it's going, but is this gonna fall into just another scope of work in the contract that wasn't followed? So is it with your current personnel, can you deliver on this or not? Or is there another FTE or person that you need to add to accomplish this? So that's what I would want to understand. Are you guys saying you're doing this, but then not telling us the whole truth that you actually need another full-time person to execute on?
So there's two parts to that answer, and then I think Jacob has some comments too. I think with the right people in there, it's manageable right now. However, you are going to add another close to 100 townhomes in phase 2 of Island Village. Once you get to that point, you probably are going to need either a split FTE between service areas and front counter to address the additional traffic, or, something to be assessed at that time. But 14 service areas is a lot. It is manageable with
But
the
we're on the cusp.
with the right personnel, but you're on the cusp.
Yeah. It's particularly challenging during certain seasons as well. End of year, budget season, those are cumbersome tasks that pile on top of additional email correspondence. We saw the note about adding the board on correspondence between the service area committees and the service area department. I just had a quick pull of numbers from the team from Friday till just around noon today. There was over 120 correspondence between the committees and our service area team. And that includes what was that, 3 working days? Or 2.5 working days, and then 3 days that we were not. So they have a huge amount of email conversations between the committees, as those committees do a lot of their work actively through email.
So what's our action item here? Charles has responses here. Do we need to discuss this at the workshop? What's the?
I think there's so next step is we're having a service area town hall next
Yeah,
week
service area town.
to get feedback from them on this. Also do this is what the service areas are. This is what we're responsible for. This is what you're responsible for. And then what's working, what's not working, what do we want to add in terms of improvement?
And then it's back to the
we'll bring it back to the board with a rollout plan.
The one thing too, I think we need to walk away from, although I'm the liaison, I think we all, my goal really is that we all really pay attention to this, because if it gets to the point where we do need to add FTE or bring in resources, that's where
Well, and the reality is, and then she said it, it's really as the community gets bigger, we have to we're going to have to add other bodies. We can't add new homeowners and new service areas, new facilities, new common areas without growing the staff down the road, not right now.
But you can't just throw, so I don't believe in throwing staff in without.
No,
identifying.
I agree.
And that's why we wanted to start with a process like this before just saying throwing staffing at it. As we know, with our parks, our pools, maintenance as our facilities age adds a lot more work. Our townhouses were some of the first items built in our community, and a lot of those are original as well. They're receiving, this is the 7th coat of paint. So it makes these projects even more complicated. And there's more projects like that. Their dues are considerably higher, and that makes their expectations considerably higher.
Sure.
We can go off this. One more thing, the town hall, how are you all have a deck and a presentation? And
Yeah,
everything?
I will kick it over to you tomorrow.
Unless
We added a piece on what's the difference between landscape maintenance in their contract and landscape improvements replacements.
C,
We're noticing that meeting, right?
It's been noted.
It's already has been.
Yeah.
C, the reserve and capital expenditure item.
So on this, let me see here. So this is a larger discussion over how are we reviewing our expenditures in the coming years from our reserve accounts as well as our capital accounts. We did slightly table this at our last meeting to allow finance to provide some input. We did have a good conversation on this with Finance Committee on January 16th, where we reviewed some large expenditures. Two pivotal items are to continue to be aware of the landscape spending and try to make or out of the reserves, as well as that the committee, as previously mentioned, had consensus of the recommendation not to use the roughly $900,000 allocated in the reserves for 2025's expenditures for the town hall project and fund the town hall elsewhere, not using that. That will help our reserve balances kind of level out based off of contributions and use of it as well, and get us back in good standing in our reserve accounts. if we do that.
Aren't reserves that are earmarked for a particular project earmarked for that particular project because that particular project needs work and money from reserves?
Yes, however, because we
Aren't
just
we
did.
robbing Peter to pay Paul so that we
So-
don't raise, because I would imagine we'll have a reserve study that's gonna say, guess what? We probably need more money in reserves because we're old.
Yeah, I think,
If you take it from reserve, yes, you'll be in that position.
Yeah.
Where we have funds in capital, that this is truly a new project, a new enhancement.
Is it a new project though? Repair the building?
We also have,
This is spot on. Why this is coming up as it is though, is we just had this reserve study done mid last year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of items were slid into this reserve study that aren't in our typical 30-year plan. They weren't in our last 30-year plan 3 years ago. And if you look at our current, or if you look at expenditures, you'll see in 2024, we expected the anticipated expenditures, and this is in the reserve funding plan, was about 900,000. If we skip this year and look planning for the future, it stays around 1.5, 1.2, 1.2, 1.5. If you look specifically at 2025, it's at 2.5.
It's an extra $1 million.
They added a lot of items into the reserve as we knew we were going to be needing to do that. But the issue on that as well is it was a increased contribution as well. Now, this kind of came out after our budgeting was already deep in the process. We didn't want to, I think our contribution was at 1 million for 2020.
It's 1.1. And just for all awareness, the reserve study never came out until pretty much the 11th hour.
Right, exactly.
There's no opportunity to pivot or change or do.
And I think the other thing is a tad bit of a misnomer to say it was added, because all of these items that are in the reserve study under 851 for 2025 are items that were slated for 2022 and never done. So when the reserve study people
So
came out.
we've been robbing 2022, 2020, those money.
We've been robbing 22 and 23 to pay.
So
We
Yeah,
put all this off, so,
we haven't spent money on 851 for 3 years.
right, because right.
However,
So
we've
where's
been
that?
adjusting expenditures, not.
But we've been
related to
using that money to
expenditure.
pay other things rather than raising,
accelerating.
instead of accelerating our reserves, which is the American way. You know, it's like, wait till I'm dead and then I'll pass the new reserves on to the people who buy the apartment after I'm done.
One of my main initiatives is making sure that our operations are on track with this and while being sensible. If it's saying that this year we have $400,000 to change sod at a soccer field, not saying, well, let's just use it, but using only what we need, but also trying to be cautious and not overspend.
To Jared's point though, Lauren, in the replacement reserves ever, have there been earmarked replacement rebuild for town hall?
A rebuild for town?
Not for
No.
anything, but I still don't understand. Every time I've been on the board for 2 years and every time we look and then we say, okay, what's the reserve budget for this? And then we go and it's under that budget. So how have we been? The math isn't working here for what's being said and what we've been doing.
Also that, you also have the go fast and fix stuff era in 2022 where about $1 million and change was spent in.
Okay, let's just talk about the last 2 years though. There's 2 years of money for 851. that
No,
we didn't
it was
spend.
in 2022 and it
See,
wasn't.
she's saying it was earmarked in 22 for 851.
And it wasn't spent.
What Jared is saying, I think what we're saying is the 851 has been identified in the reserve study.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
allocations of, we need to put $150,000 into HVAC,
Yes.
correct? So that's there.
Which was found out on November of last
Here
year.
is that,
Right.
why are we saying we don't have reserves?
No, we do have reserves. We have the reserves, That's just the recommendation from the finance committee is don't use those reserves for 851, use capital for that.
I agree with what you're saying. That's not what I'm hearing from over here.
Yeah.
Your reserve fund balance is in a good place.
Then why not use
Then why wouldn't
Part
we
of the
use the,
reserve.
yeah,
to help?
Because they're trying to help 2025's inflated number.
So
I
so
guess-
we did identify.
Is that right? Am I right?
Just taken from other.
Are we in a decent spot? Probably, but with all the different costs for the pool houses, the new playgrounds, and I don't know if you can pull up the 3-year look. I think that's an easy way for everybody to see, but so for 2025, you have town hall, which is about 900,000. So they were
So
showing
there's
the 2.5 million. So
For
you
20
strip that out, then you're looking at $1.5 million every year for replacement. So
Here's my,
now, hold on. So 2025 is town hall and the lakeside pool house. That's kind of your mark. 2026 is your playgrounds for Lakeside and North Village. 2027 is your North Village and East Village pool houses and pools. So that's how this is set up currently.
Okay,
We can change that however you want, but currently how you go into it, that's what it is. And knowing how much the recent playground cost, the playground estimates might be under budget for what it is. And again, not a top of the line thing, but just realistically, how much things cost. Is the reserve study decent? Yes, but can we attest that we're going to hit these numbers and when we go out for bids, we're going to be under or at it? I can't tell with any confidence we will.
here's
Sure.
my thought, but then we do have capital if that happens, because it's still, when we are replacing a lot of the things, they can qualify for capital because they're being enhanced. But my thought is, and what I've kind of, I don't want to be like pessimistic, but more realistic. I know there's a lot that we could use reserves for in 2025, like a lot of great projects. Knowing the speed that we operate as far as getting bids, getting approved, going through the process. Are we going to really do all those projects in 2025?
Not all of them. Not all.
So then, like, my thought is, why not still, like, and you can tell me why, but like, why not still use that 900,000 in reserves for 851?
for the most pressing issue.
Yeah,
Right,
since, because that's what we're gonna be spending the
And
bulk
rest
of our
capital.
time this year.
Reverse that.
Rather than, I don't want to see a special assessment for 851 if we have money in reserves.
That's a board prerogative. You just have a recommendation from the finance.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to, like, I'm trying to understand it more.
Well, I think at that point, then it would be beneficial for the board to have a joint session or
So
with the finance committee to discuss those questions specifically.
And the other thing you can look at too is if it is all capital, you can see what that total cost is and where everything's coming from versus you might start taking from replacement and then you're taking more from capital to put refill replacement and you keep dipping into capital. That then could almost look like it's just running.
So
So
that's just a project balance sheet at that point. That doesn't matter how it gets allocated.
A finance 101 perspective, I don't mean to overcomplicate the sandwich here a little bit, but we can always,
There's no mulch.
we can always move from capital to reserve. You just can't go the other way. So it's one pocket or another is kind of where we're looking at here. I think the piece where, and I think you were starting to get at this with like the 851, some of the pieces that we have here in this is, in theory, if we're fixing a bunch of stuff now, if we're going to replace the HVAC, I know we already just did some stuff, but if we replace the HVAC there, in theory, we're not going to have to replace that as early as maybe it indicates in the reserve study because the damn thing's brand new. If we replace something, a lot of these things that we're going to do, fixing, repairing, replacing, whatever, you've kind of pulled some of that stuff up together. So I think it's really just which pocket are we taking it from? We're still sitting.
And I guess
And I think what we have to do, if I'm hearing this right too, we need to identify 1 through 3. 851 is number 1. Is there anything else after number 1?
Number 2 and number 3.
Is there anything?
Now, that's to that point. What is the number 3 splash pad in reserves?
So,
I don't even
no,
know.
that's just, that's under the same.
Oh, but it says large reserve items. Okay. Oh, I see. It's just the way it's set back. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's just how.
I thought it was a reserve item. I'm going,
Yeah.
And again, like, if North Village, if the playground is literally, we've talked about that, the
Yeah.
cost, like, it needs to get done. So, okay, fine, we have to figure that out, make it work. If we have to pull from capital to fund 851, so be it, but that's, we're just not gonna be able to do everything in the reserve study for 2025.
Exactly. And
I think though, like, just to touch on real quickly, the North Village playground, and even from what I'm hearing from parents, is that playground is in good shape.
And that's, yeah, that's our recommendation is to keep
we're
that
fixing,
playground,
yeah.
but fix the turf and
The turf,
the
but
rock.
not, no need to replace
You can delay replacement of
that
that. Yeah.
until it's needed.
yes, the only thing that we would be looking at in 2026 is the main shade structure over that playground. And it's just the canvas is reaching end of life, not the structure itself.
okay, so the suggestion is that we have a meeting with finance to discuss this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing too would be, right? Town hall and that replacement didn't really come into the reserve until last year. I know there was $1 million prior in that other one, but I don't know what they did prior, so we can't say that. So
Okay.
if
Yeah.
it is truly a project that is once every 30 years, and you're not taking 1/30 of the cost and putting it away every single year, should it be part of replacement? Or do you just do all capital? But that could be further discussion.
And one last item on that was if like we said, it's just to help it keep it set for the future. The anticipated reserve at end of year for December 2024 was just above 2 million. And as Jen reported, we're at 1.2 million. So if we, that kind of connects to that offsetting that $900,000 from that rated for that. If we do that, it puts you right back kind of in a line. There's more, of course, there's more nuances that the finance committee has looked into.
So it's an accounting.
Very,
And we should make the finance committee involved because doing the things like if we replace the playground, if we don't replace the playground or pushing that out,
Yeah.
we need to track that. And I know most HOAs don't do that, but if we have that knowledge, we should have the finance committee tasked with forecasting some of this stuff.
You probably want to know.
Discussions very early on.
Can we do that at the March workshop with the finance committee? Because should we do that with the new committee for?
The new committee and
Well, that won't be in March, that'd be April.
yeah, the new committee will be April, the new board.
They wouldn't be seated till April.
Do you want to try to do an extra meeting in February?
No, not an extra meeting. I'm not trying to do an extra meeting.
invite them.
Do you want to invite?
We don't,
them
I
to
don't
the
think,
workshop?
do we have anything major for the workshop?
Procurement,
Procurement, that is major.
Well, that involves them too.
yeah.
Okay, let's invite them to the next
Parks
workshop.
and Rec.
But just looking at some other things to consider, right? The 1.06 item, that's the 206,000. That's pretty much what Jacob has already earmarked with the different quarters and parks. So I believe 150,000 is pretty much allocated for the first 3 quarters. Decision will have to be made for the 4th quarter of, do you continue it? Do you push it into the following year? What goes there? Then it's just the bullet, but 1.012 is athletic field renovation, East Village, North Village, Spring Park. There's really no detail on how that's broken out. And then you also have an item toward the bottom. 1.657 for athletic fields for 200,000. So there was discussion at the finance committee that
That's for what?
obviously there's drainage issues and all kinds of
Okay,
stuff. And what are you gonna fix those fields? And talking with Lauren, her opinion is that pretty much athletic fields need to be replaced every single year.
It's not every year, but I mean, you are going to see significant, yeah.
Well, this
Yeah,
is all
and-
for workshop discussion.
Yeah, but that, and then, so the splash pad thing, that brings us, I guess that is around to this. I mean, we're talking about both drawing down much of our reserves and then tapping into capital for repairing the things that have been neglected for a very, very, very long time. So what is this, the splash pad? I thought that was going to go down the road.
No,
That was
that's
part of the impact.
was when the meeting directly after the impact presentation, it was brought to the board that the board wants to make sure we implement the actions. And
Okay, that was the meeting I didn't attend.
Yes.
That was the one I missed.
and that we want to make sure we act on the presentation and the plan provided by the master plan group.
But
And
Their goal is a
Yeah.
4th of July opening to be.
for a splash pad.
yes,
Summary.
And the cost of that?
is being presented to us.
It's roughly,
It's in budget, 500, 600,000
it's in,
600 to
it's,
700.
it's in the budget.
in the budget of what it was forecast for, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's in their,
okay.
within their proposed budget in their report.
Yeah, which I think along that line,
That's a full.
a bigger discussion needs to be had regarding Lakeside in general, as far as, yeah, you do have that splash pad and that kiddie pool definitely needs to be updated. So no denying that, but you also have 110,000 for the roof there, or pool house and the Jones room. Are we even happy with what the Jones room is? The playground is going to be up in 2026. So is that something where it needs to be kicked back to the master planning committee? to say,
I would,
what should Lakeside be? What is the future of Lakeside?
That is actually,
Yeah.
that is in discussion.
that,
Having those
Meeting
discussions.
rooms is a item that there was in discussion. It's in phase one, is different meeting rooms. And the looking at Jones room is part of that. They have taken that offline to continue
I
looking
mean,
into.
I hate that I missed that meeting because I didn't know this was coming up. Because this is again, an expenditure of $500,000 when we still have things we haven't fixed.
Do keep in mind, just because it is a little time sensitive, the kiddie pool was not in the resurfacing project because it was stinted to be demolished.
Yeah.
So it is not, and the pump has issues that are not being fixed because it is planned to be demolished. So it's
Just,
not worried,
everybody get ready. We're gonna be raising some dues.
just bring those pieces in alignment.
Because we need to get our reserves in shape. We have been putting this on for too long.
A lot of it's going to town hall. So what's left after that?
Right, but that's our big
But
asset.
that's the big question. What's going to be left?
Passed.
The capital assessment passed, but the reality is it's gonna take years to build that pool up with capital because the home sales have slowed.
But again, it really comes down to town hall as your pivot. What is the cost of that? To then what other secondary projects will proceed and how long it'll
Yeah.
take?
Well, we saved $20,000 today.
Thank God. I'm just looking down the road because, we cannot continue to pretend like we can kick the financial cans down to the next owners of our houses.
And I'd asked Lauren at the finance committee to do an inspection of the roof because the
Of Lakeside?
Lakeside is coming up and that's 110,000. Is that necessary or not? I think everything in the next 3 years should have an inspection of, is it at its useful life or not? To then get a better picture of, is this a must repair or is this, we can wait a couple years?
So in the,
Start putting everything together.
there was a document in your workshop packet that was 2025 reserve study non-landscaping. And that has items in there that are slated for full replacement in 25 based on your reserve study. Items slated for partial replacement and then town hall is pulled out and then we're noting items that may not be necessary. So all the full replacement items, we're going to be engaging experts in those areas to analyze those, like the roofs. There's 3 metal roofs that are up for replacement in 25 or repair. So we'll get those assessed and see if we truly do need to make those expenditures. Same with the fire alarm detection systems. The Lakeside parking lot does need some repair. The Heritage Hall parking lot needs some repair. We need to inspect the air handling units. So we do have this all outlined and ready to go for that analysis to then bring to the board as we find things that need
So
to
the
take action.
one, and I think that's good that you're engaging expert, because the one thing, I don't think we should just say, yeah, kick it down to 2026, because if it's gonna cost more,
Right.
let's just take it on the chin now, figure it out if we have to move capital or have to raise funds. Let's just have our conversation
Well,
about
to
it.
that-
We already saw what happened when we don't maintain things and we take care of it.
We plan to
To
do
that
it.
point, right? I mean, pool heaters, for example, I don't know when they were in the reserve, but we shouldn't have waited until they broke. If it was the 10 or 12-year useful life, then fix it and we do it on our time rather than forcing something that we have to close half the community.
Yeah, and I think that the pool heaters are a classic example of this, because I think that because I sit here as a board member, if you came to me and all the pool heaters were working, and you tell me, hey, Eric, it's time to replace the pool heater, and I ask you, Jacob, is the pool heater still working? You're gonna say, yeah, it's working today.
But not, it's out of
We're gonna
line.
get in the boat that it could crap out tomorrow and then we're stuck. So it's kind of that risk versus reward that we just need to balance.
So those kinds of comments will be in your summary sheets for these items, 25.
All right, moving on. Let's move on to the Regions Bank deal. That's yours.
Yeah, short, I mean,
Do we still have an account of Regions?
Yeah, Regions is about 2.5. Truist is at 0.01. They had dropped it a couple months back.
Well, then, bring it back over to Regions, right?
So, but the other part is Brand Manners really doesn't use Regions at all. There's nothing that really comes out of it for any particular reason. So the one thing that was holding back was there's a MasterCard that's paid for liquor license and some other expenses that they can't use their American Express cards for. So the thought is, well, if the card is the only reason, you can get MasterCards from other business relationships. We have CIT and Truist. Makes sense to open up a MasterCard there and then potentially get rid of the Regions relationship.
But wait, who's paying more?
But then there was the other
Well,
concept brought up of
Truist is
keep
paying
it to
more.
leverage.
Wait, no,
Truist
is paying more, not Regions.
Sorry, Truist is Regions is paying more.
Paying more, right.
But the other caveat to it is, and Jennifer, I don't know if you're still on or not, but the operating budget, the operating accounts were drawn pretty low that she had to do some movement in cash. So it may make sense that, yeah, we have this cash in those accounts that you just put it directly into the operating to have that cushion appropriately for ongoing expenses and costs.
And how much money is it? for Regions?
About 190,000.
Oh, okay, so it's not a lot.
190,000 at Regions, 125,000 at Truist.
The only reason we kept those was because of the credit card. charge.
Yeah,
Because we wanted to close everything.
yeah, we can close it out and transfer it over to Truist. Jennifer just sent an email to the finance committee and saying that Truist money market rates have been 3.5 and 3.66 on the banking side.
Should just close it.
But that's not what we're getting.
We should be getting that if that's what the rates are.
The statement said otherwise. So
Yeah, so she,
if that's what she can get now after the conversations earlier this month, then okay, makes sense to move stuff to Regions. And then the only thing would be,
I mean, we'll move stuff to Truist.
yeah, move stuff from Regions to Truist. The only thing would be to resolve all the points that we have at Regions, which I think you can do for various gift cards or something else. So I don't know if that ties into specific events or something, but there's points and rewards that should be zeroed out before closing out the Regions account.
We bank with CIT,
Yeah,
That's our main bank.
huh?
Our main bank for,
Because CIT pays huge amounts on money funds and high yield savings.
well, we bank with Truist and CIT. So either one.
No, I mean, CIT though.
If they pay more, then we should do that.
4.5% on money funds.
Can we get credit cards there? And
Yeah. CIT is a huge credit card issuer.
so we'll work with corporate on the CIT rates versus Truist.
Yeah, check those rates because I was looking them up for, on my show and they were 4.5.
But I guess for the board, it's, we need to direct them to get a MasterCard of another banking institution. That's where we come in.
We'll bring you the two options, Truist versus CIT. And the,
You're saying both your card.
then great. Looks better when we get that information.
So the finance committee recommended this. My only question is from a management perspective, does closing the Regions bank account put you guys up the river somehow?
As long as they have a MasterCard.
it's actually easier for us because we don't have access to it. Andrew has to go in every month and download the report and
Got
send it to Jennifer.
Got it.
Yeah, that's me.
What are the service areas
you're on CIT.
here?
All right, board comments?
A motion to adjourn?
Second? We're adjourned. Thank you all very much. Look at that, it's not 8.
Good.
No,
Hold on, the meeting's still running.
That a challenge.
we stopped this on purpose. So you